Imagine waking up one morning and turning on the tap ready for a cool, clear drink, and instead, red water pours out. In the film 28 years later, survivors glimpse rivers and taps running thick and crimson, stained by a mysterious infection. This chilling image instantly reminded me of the first plague God sent on Egypt. In Exodus 7, Moses stretched out his hand over the Nile, and the mighty river turned to blood. Fish died, the water stank, and the people were terrified. Both in the movie and the Bible, water, our source of life, suddenly becomes dangerous. It shows us how quickly something good can turn bad when a hidden power takes hold. But notice what happens next in Exodus. God didn't stop at judgment. When the plague ended, he spoke to Moses again. "I am the Lord who heals you." Exodus 15:26. That promise shines like a beacon of hope amid disaster. In our modern story too, the rage virus stains the world red, but we see communities come together to filter, boil, and guard their water. Their very actions echo God's healing plan centuries ago. As you watch those red waves in the film, remember, the same power that let the Nile run blood also brings spring rains, clear rivers, and fresh drinking water. Sickness cannot have the final word. Hail and ash storms. In Exodus 9, God sent hail mixed with fire that smashed trees and shattered rocks. In 28 years later, dark ash rains down on empty streets, slamming into abandoned cars and buildings. Both scenes show that nature itself can become a weapon. God reminds us that he holds the weather in his hands, whether it's ancient hailstones or modern fallout. Locusts and infected legions. The fourth plague was a swarm of locusts that ate every green thing in the land. Today's film shows endless waves of infected stumbling through foggy alleys, ravenous and unceasing. Locusts obeyed God's command. The infected obey a virus. In both cases, a higher power has set them loose, teaching us how real and fierce invisible forces can be. Divine restraint and mercy. Even in the midst of judgment, God protected his people in Goshen. Exodus 9:26. The plague did not touch them. In 28 years later, small pockets of survivors find safety in hidden shelters. This parallel reminds us that God's power always includes mercy. He can shield and sustain those who trust him, even when danger surrounds them. God's sovereign authority. The plagues were not random disasters, they answered Pharaoh's stubborn heart. Today's viral onslaught exposes human vulnerability, but also points to a God who still rules over sickness and death. Exodus 15:26 proclaims, "I am the Lord who heals you." No matter how terrifying the storm or how many infected roam, God remains the healer of hearts and bodies. Hope amid chaos. In both stories, the fury of nature and infection brings fear and loss. Yet each plague prepared the way for a greater miracle, Israel's freedom and, in the film's world, a chance for survivors to rebuild. When we see ash fall and hordes advance, we can remember that God's power to heal is far greater than any plague. His promise stands. He works for our good, even through the fiercest trials. After the painful boils, come even more fearsome signs. In Egypt, hail mixed with fire fell from the sky. In our film world, ash and sparks rain down like a storm of embers, coating streets and shredding hope. We see rooftops collapse, and survivors stumble through burning dust, forced to seek shelter wherever they can. Just as hail pounded Pharaoh's land, the movie shows airborne debris and burning fragments that strike like tiny meteors. It reminds us how small things, like cold water turning hot, can hurt us when God allows fire in our lives to wake us up. Next, God sent swarms of locusts that devoured every green shoot. In 28 years later, we witness hordes of infected, scuttling like insects, overrunning safe zones with ravenous hunger. Their pale, jerky movements echo the relentless march of those ancient creatures. These film locusts strip hope bare. They remind us how sin and sickness can eat away at joy until nothing remains. We feel the dread of being overwhelmed by forces we cannot stop. Then came thick darkness over all Egypt, a shadow so deep it could be felt. In our story, power grids fail, and blackouts plunge cities into eerie quiet. Thousands of lights blink out at once, leaving only the faint glow of distant fires. True darkness isn't just the absence of light, it's the weight of fear pressing on our hearts. We feel alone, groping for a future we can't see. But God's darkness is not aimless. He uses it to teach us to trust Him in the unseen. Through each of these trials, hail, swarms, and darkness, God reminds us of His power. He controls the wind, the rain, the smallest insect, and even the night itself. No force in nature can surprise Him. In the next section, we'll see how, even amid these terrifying judgments, God still stands ready to heal and restore. His promise in Exodus 15:26 shines brightest when everything else fades. Even after the worst plagues, God spoke a gentle promise to His people. He said, "I am the Lord who heals you." Exodus 15:26. Imagine feeling fear in your heart, seeing everyone sick and helpless, but knowing there is hope. In the movie, water runs red and people stumble in the streets. It looks like the end of everything. Yet in the Bible, after the Nile turned to blood and frogs covered the land, God made rivers run clear again. He took away sickness and brought fresh water for everyone to drink. This showed that His power is stronger than any disease. When the rage virus rages on screen, we see people lost and scared. But God's promise shines brighter. Just like He healed the Israelites, He still heals today. Sometimes that healing is in medicines and doctors. Sometimes it's in kindness and community. And sometimes it's in quiet moments of prayer. When we feel His peace fill our hearts. Think about someone you know who was really sick. Maybe they rested and drank water. Maybe they prayed or felt loved when friends visited. Slowly, they got better. That's a little picture of what God did for Israel and what He can do for us. God does not always stop every storm right away. He let the plagues happen so people would learn to trust Him. In the same way, when we face hard times now, we can remember His promise to heal. We can look for small signs of hope, a doctor's caring touch, a friend's help, even a quiet moment of calm. So when the screen shows chaos and fear, remember, the same God who turned Nile blood into fresh water still cares for you today. His promise is true. He is the Lord who heals you. And one day, He will wipe away every tear and make all things new. God's heart as healer. Even in the midst of plague and panic, God never turns away from the suffering. He introduced Himself to Israel as the Lord who heals you, showing that His first concern is our brokenness and pain. Ancient restoration. After each plague, God brought relief. The Nile returned from blood to clear water, frogs died away, and boils vanished. These acts pointed ahead to a deeper healing He would offer through His Son. Film. Survivors finding refuge in. 28 years later, pockets of survivors form makeshift clinics and share scarce medicine. Their brief moments of safety echo how God provided well, quails, and manna for His people in the desert, small mercies that kept them alive. Jesus fulfills the promise. While Moses foreshadowed God's healing hand, Jesus carried it into our world. He touched lepers, healed the sick, and calmed storms. His life shows that every sickness and every wound matters to God. Healing beyond the physical. The rage virus in the movie burns the body, but our deepest wound is separation from God. Only Jesus can restore the broken heart, mend the soul's scars, and bring true peace that lasts beyond any medicine. Promise for us today. Just as God healed Israel, He offers us restoration, strength when we are weak, comfort when we mourn, and hope when we cannot see a way forward. We can claim His promise by faith, even in the darkest outbreak. A simple prayer of trust. Lord, You are the healer of my body and my soul. I believe You can bring life where there is death, and peace where there is chaos. Looking ahead. In our next section, we'll explore how God equips ordinary people to become agents of His healing, shining light into the darkest places. God's unchanging heart. Even when sickness swept through nations long ago, God showed His love by promising healing. He is the same today. He hears our cries, cares for our pain, and offers new strength. Claiming the promise. Exodus 15 verse 26 says, I am the Lord who heals you. You can hold on to this promise right now. When fear knocks, remember God's words and speak them out loud. Lord, You heal me. Finding peace in prayer. You don't need fancy words or perfect faith. Just open your heart and tell God how you feel. Ask Him to heal your body, mind, and world. Then sit quietly and listen. He may answer with a gentle thought, a fresh hope, or unexpected peace. Practical steps toward hope. Speak Scripture daily. Write Exodus 15:26 on a card. Read it every morning. Let it fill your mind. Connect with community. Share this promise with a friend. Pray together by phone or video. 2 hearts praying bring twice the courage. Serve others. When you help someone in need, bring water, send a kind message, you become God's healing hands in their world. Stories of new life. Across the globe, people have faced disease and heartbreak. Yet many testify that as they leaned into God's promise, they found strength to smile again, and their wounds began to feel less heavy. Invitation to faith. If you've never trusted God before, today can be your first step. He invites you to lean on Him, to rest in His promise of healing. Trust that He works good, even through hard times. Looking forward. Healing may come in different ways and at different times, but God's promise never fails. Keep your eyes on Him and let His promise guide you through every storm.